is here. In other words, my crazy self then put myself in some bad situations, but the God that I know, yes sir, the God that I know is good all the time, then yes sir, then came and rescued me out of a place that he didn't put me. It was just my crazy self put me in some unwanted places. David here now have been rescued because he's doing some crazy stuff. Doing some crazy stuff. He's doing some crazy stuff. He's doing some crazy stuff. And watch what David does. Watch what David does. When he does this, they let him go. They let him go. And so I want to talk to you today. David going to help us with our tasting and our singing. Okay, I said David is going to help us with our tasting and our sing. Watch this, not worldly stuff, but our tasting and our sing on the goodness of God. Notice the text. He says, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. And I know you probably saying, how can I taste and see the goodness of God? Could I tell you, my brothers and sisters, you can taste and see that the Lord is good. When you experience him and his power and his doing in your life, you then discover that, watch this, I don't just see what he's doing in somebody else's life. I want to taste what he's doing in my own life. In other words, I'm going to see what he did in David's life. But watch this now. But I want to taste what he can do in my own. If I could see what he's doing for David, I want to taste it for myself. Is there anybody here have seen God doing some stuff, some good things in somebody else's life? And I mean, he's moving in their life. He's doing great and mighty things in their life. And what I love about David, my brothers and sisters, is David don't want to keep this to himself. So David says to his audience, he said, I need you to taste and see the goodness of the Lord, because David says, not only have I saw it, I have tasted it for myself, and I'm going to give you a praise report. Y'all ain't hearing me. I'm going to give you a praise report on how good he has been to me. So I want you, listen at me real well. David said, I want you to look at my life before you taste him in your life. Lord have mercy. And my brothers and sisters, I like this text because David is going to watch this. He's going to say, I need you to experience tasting and singing, number one, through praise. Y'all ain't hear me. David said, I want you to experience tasting and sing through praise. Because what David does in these first few verses is he praises him because of what he has done for him. Do you know you can call somebody to want to experience him for themselves if you would just give the praise on what he's done for you? Maybe nobody don't want to taste the goodness of God because you won't praise him for what he's done for you. If God's been good to you, you ought to give a praise report on how good God has been to you. David says, let me give a praise report on how good he's been to me. And how good he's been to me may open up your taste buds and say, I need to get a taste of that. Watch what David says. David said, I need you, watch this, to experience tasting and sing. Watch this through praise. Watch the praise. Here it is, my brothers and sisters. David says, I bless the Lord at all times, and his praise shall continuously be in my mouth. David says, my soul shall make her boast in the Lord. David says, the soul, not what you see, not my flesh, but David says, my soul shall make her boast. My soul shall brag about the Lord. Listen to what I'm saying. And he said, and the humble shall hear thereof and be glad. David says, I just got a praise report on how good God has been to me. David says, man, listen, I I was caught. Y'all ain't hear me. I was hiding in a cave, and my refuge had got caught. Y'all, I mean, they discovered where I was. The enemy discovered where I was, but God did not allow the enemy to take over me. Am I talking to anybody in here that got a praise report sort of like David that says that your enemies did not take over you? David says, I was in a cave. They could have killed me. They could have took me out, but because of the power of God, y'all ain't hear me, because of me and my crazy self, y'all hear me, because one thing about the God we serve, he knows us inside and out. We can put on all we want to put on about how strong we is in the Lord, but let trouble knock on our door and we'll really see how strong. That's the reason why I don't laugh at David. That's why I don't get bent out of shape about David, because if trouble knock on your door, you may be worse than David. You may not show how much you believe in the God that you've been talking about. So David says, the reason why I did not get caught was because of the power of God. David is testifying. David is giving a praise report. He says, I'm going to bless him. My soul shall make her boast in the Lord, and the humble shall hear thereof and be glad. And then look what David says to them. Oh, magnify. Y'all ain't hear me. David said, oh, magnify the Lord with me in himself. David said, man, it tastes so good to have the goodness of God on your side. And I just don't want to keep it to me. And I can't stand Christians that God has been good to. And they don't want nobody else to experience the goodness of God. In other words, they want it all to them. Have y'all ever hung around a greedy person? When a meal tastes real good, y'all ain't hear me. And they don't want nobody else to have none of it. Y'all, that's what I'm saying. David is saying, I'm not trying to have it all to myself. If I was trying to have it all to myself, I wouldn't give you a praise on how good God has been to me. David says, I want you to taste it too. Y'all hear me? Look at somebody and say, taste it. Maybe they won't taste it because you won't tell them how good he's been to you. David says, oh, magnify the Lord with me. And let us lift up his name. I don't want you to just keep giving praise about his goodness. I don't just want to give praise about his goodness myself. I want all of us to give some praise about what he has done in our lives. I think, my brothers and sisters, Christians have become too private. I don't want nobody to know this and